Okay, good morning everyone. We are recording now. So, yeah, sorry I had to cancel the last three lectures since I wasn't well, but now I'm back and I'm feeling much better. Um, all right, so are there any questions or concerns pertaining to anything we have done so far? Last time we stopped at our discussion about the four color conjecture and theorem. We proved the six color theorem, which is very easy, right? And today our goal is to prove the five color theorem. Are there any questions regarding the proof of the six color theorem? Is everybody clear why this works? Right? There is only one simple fact we are using. There is a vertex of degree at most 5. You delete that vertex and you proceed by induction. You're done. Okay. But this idea cannot be used to prove the five color theorem because, well, if there was a vertex of degree at most 4, you can use the same idea. The problem is, what if there is no vertex of degree at most 4? There are planar graphs where every vertex has degree at least 5. Okay? So, so that's the reason we cannot use this approach. We need to use some more intelligent approach to prove the five colors. All right. So with that, let's move to a new page. And before we prove the five color theorem, I want to give you a slightly different viewpoint of colorings, vertex colorings. So let's suppose that I give you a graph and a proper vertex coloring of that graph. So this is a proper K vertex coloring of the graph. Okay. So for the time being, you can think of K equal to 5. Okay. Let's see your 5 colors: red, blue, green, orange, yellow. Okay. So what does it look like? I want you to think about it differently. I want you to look at any one color's vertices. Those are called the color classes with respect to this coloring, right? So these are the vertices of your graph. These are the red vertices: blue, green, orange, and yellow. So what does the graph induced by any color look like? Maybe I should not use G. Uh, let's call it purple.
Sir, did you start the lecture just now?
Yeah, we started about 2 minutes ago, 2 3 minutes ago.
Sir, can you just recap what you just did in short means because I just entered now.
Yeah, this is the question. I'm giving you, I haven't said anything important. You have a graph and you have a proper K vertex coloring of the graph,
Okay, yeah.
right? So I want you to tell me, what does the graph induced by any color class look like? Supposing you look at the
It must
graph
have
induced by
isolated vertices.
isolated vertices, exactly. So graph induced by all red vertices, for example,
Basically, every color class is an independent set.
right? So this is basically is an empty graph. So it has a bunch of vertices at no edges, right? Empty graph meaning no edges, right? In other words, if my colors are 1 up to k, what you can do is you can partition your vertex set into sets v1 up to vk, and each vi will induce what is called an independent set or a stable set. So, a set S of the vertex set of a graph is called a stable set, also known as independent set, but I will be using stable set. It's called a stable set if there are no edges joining two vertices in S.
So, sir, here we are discussing all about simple graphs, right?
Right, simple graphs.
Simple graph, yeah. Because there is no point in keeping multiple edges or loops.
There is no point here.
No point. Okay, okay, fine.
Okay. I mean, this definition is also true for graphs with multiple edges and loops, but you're right. When we are talking about coloring, we don't care about multiple edges and loops. Okay? So this is a stable set, right? And the point is, so we may view this coloring as a partition of the vertex set into k stable sets. Okay? Supposing you don't want to use one of the colors, so let's say you have a proper five coloring, but let's say no vertex gets the red color. So in that case, one of your stable sets could be empty. So let me just say partition into k stable sets, and I will just say
So you can say partition into at most k stable sets.
yeah, yeah,
Into
or
at
I'll
most
just
k
put
stable.
possibly empty. Okay. So this would be your V1, V2, V3, V4, and V5, where each vertex in Vi gets the color I, where I belongs to 1 up to K, right? Okay? All right. Okay. So that is what the graph looks like when you look at the vertices of one particular color. Okay. What does the graph look like if I look at vertices of two colors? What does the graph induced by
I think it
Vi
would be a bipartite
within
graph.
bipartite?
Bipartite
Exactly.
graph.
Right. If you look at the graph induced by the red vertices and the blue vertices, well, so if you look at that induced graph, you have a proper two coloring of that graph. But the very fact that it is proper two colorable, it means that it is a bipartite graph, right? It is two colorable. In other words, it is bipartite. Okay? All right. Okay, so that's, I think, all I want to tell you regarding this viewpoint. Also, the only graphs that are one colorable are the empty graphs, right? The only graphs that are one colorable are empty graphs, because the moment you have an edge you cannot have a one color, right? And the only graphs that are two colorable are exactly the bipartite graphs. That is, in fact, the way to define bipartite graphs. Okay, good. Regarding 3 and beyond 3, we will talk more. But for now, I want to go back to Haywood's theorem, five color theorem. So, yeah, so this is theorem 11.6. So it says that every loopless planar graph G is 5 vertex colorable. Okay. And we will use this idea that we just discussed about the graph induced by two colors. Okay. All right. So we'll try to prove by induction, right? We have a planar graph. We can delete a vertex and we'll get a smaller planar graph. Right? Okay. So by induction on the number of vertices. So what's the easy case? Can someone tell me what is an easy case based on our proof of the six color theorem?
Graph with less than equal to 5 vertices.
Um, Less than equal to five vertices. Sure.
If there's a vertex that has degree
Less than
less than or equal to 5.
less than or equal to
Less
Less
five.
than 5. Less than 5.
Less than five. Okay, okay, good. So case one. G has a vertex of degree less than equal to 4. Okay? This is easy, right? This is exactly like the six color theorem. You take this vertex, you throw it away, you color the remaining graph by induction. Now you put this vertex back. It has at most four neighbors. So at most four of the five colors will be used by its neighbors, and you give the fifth color to this guy. You're done. Okay. So this is easy. I won't even write it down. Similar to proof of six color theorem. Okay. So the problem is when there is no vertex of degree at most 4, then we are not able to use this case anymore. Um, each vertex of G has degree at least 5. Okay. Well, we know that there is a vertex of degree at most 5, right? That was what we used in the six color theorem. So this means that there exists a vertex whose degree equals 5. So this is the guy we need to deal with. Say V. Okay. Also, probably I should say in the beginning, we may assume that G is simple, right? It is already loopless in the statement, but we can also assume that it is simple because otherwise you just proceed by induction. So there is a vertex whose degree equals exactly 5, which means it has exactly 5 neighbors because the graph is simple. Okay. So what we can do is we can take a planar embedding of this graph. So let G tilde be a planar embedding of G. Okay. And in this planar embedding, um, okay, let's see. Okay, so consider a planar embedding. So the vertex V looks like this with its 5 neighbors. Okay. And at the same time, consider the graph G minus V. Okay. By induction hypothesis, there is a proper 5 vertex coloring of this graph. There exists a proper 5 vertex coloring of G minus V. Okay. So let's say this is a function C that goes from the vertices of G minus V to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, our 5 colors. Okay. Now, if you look at these 5 vertices, n of V is the neighbors of V, right? If these 5 vertices, if they use only 4 colors, then again you are done, right? If the 5 vertices use only 4 colors, then I can give the 5th color to the vertex V and I'm done. So we may assume the bad cases when all the 5 vertices that are neighbors of the vertex V, they use the 5 different colors. If neighbors of V use at most 4 colors with in the coloring C, right? Then again we are done. And once again it is similar to proof of 6 color theorem. Right? So the difficult case is when all 5 colors 1 to 5 are used by these 5 vertices. Okay? So what I will do is, for the sake of convenience, I will call this V1 and the color used by this vertex, I will call it 1. V2 uses color 2. V3 uses color 3. V4 uses color 4. And V5 uses color 5. Okay? So adjust notation in this way. And there is another thing I want to mention. Notice that I have called the vertices V1 to V5 in a clockwise order according to the way they appear in the planar embedding, right? The neighbors of the vertex V, they have a specific clockwise order depending on the embedding. And in that order, I am calling them V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. And the color of Vi is equal to I. Okay? Is everybody with me so far? Are there any questions or concerns? Right? We haven't done anything fancy so far. But now we need to do something fancy, right? Because now we don't have any way to color the vertex V. We need to figure out some way to color the vertex V. It's clearly not possible because all the 5 vertices are using the 5 colors. So the only way we can do it is we have to change this coloring, right? We need to find a way to change this coloring so that we can complete our proof. Okay, so that's the goal. To change the coloring C slightly, whatever that means, such that so that we have a new proper 5 coloring, and in this new proper 5 coloring, the vertices V1 to V5, they should use at most 4 colors, such that V1, V2, V3, V4, V5 use at most 4 colors. Okay? And then if it uses at most 4 colors, then we are done. We know then we can finish the proof. Okay? So how do we do this? We will use the Jordan curve theorem in a very interesting way. Okay. So what we will do is we will look at the subgraph induced by 2 colors, V1 and V3. Okay. I basically don't want to take 2 consecutive ones. I want to leave a gap. So I can do that by picking V1 and then picking V3. Okay. So let's look at all the, sorry, colors 1 and 3. Let's look at all the, let's look at the subgraph. So maybe I'll introduce a notation. Gij is the subgraph induced by all vertices colored I or colored J. Okay, you can assume that I is less than J. Consider G13. Okay, so we are looking at all the vertices that have color 1 or they have color 3. Okay, so let's say color 1 is red, and let's say color 3 is blue. Okay, there are other vertices in this graph which are red or blue, right? So we are going to look at the entire subgraph induced by all the red vertices and all the blue vertices. Supposing, so these two vertices V1 and V3 are definitely in this graph, right? V1 is red and V3 is blue. Supposing these two vertices belong to different components in this graph. let's say, let us say that V1 belongs to a certain component in the red blue graph, which is my graph G13. Okay, so when I say red blue, I mean G13. Okay, so let's suppose they belong to different components. So what does a component look like? We have already discussed it. A component will be a bipartite graph. So this red one will have some neighbors. They will all be blue. Then there might be a red neighbor of one of these, right? Etc. And whatever edges that are there, they will have to be between red and blue. Otherwise, it would not be a proper coloring of the smaller graph. Something like this. Okay. So let's say I have this component of G13 that contains the vertex V1 but does not contain the vertex V3. In other words, V3 belongs to a different component. Can anybody tell me how do we finish the proof in this case?
You just swap the colors.
Right. You take one of these components and you swap the colors blue and red, and this will give you another proper coloring. I will let you all think about it for a few minutes why this does not violate the condition of a proper coloring. Okay, and you will get a proper coloring, and now both the vertices V1 and V3 have the same color, right? So let's say this is a component J. So we will just swap the colors in this component J, right? So V1 in particular will now get blue color, but V3 is already blue color. So you have a proper 5 coloring where V1 and V3 have the same color. So we have achieved our goal. Okay. So if V1, sorry, if V1 and V3 belong to distinct components of the graph G13, then we swap the colors. We swap the colors. The one was red, and 3, which is blue, in the component J containing V1. Okay, and this gives us another proper 5 coloring of the graph G minus V. Why? Think for yourself. Okay. Okay, so we have another proper 5 coloring, and in this coloring, V1 and V3 have the same color. So let me call this proper 5 coloring C prime, and in C prime, the vertex V1 has the same color as the vertex V3. So we are done, right? Because the 5 neighbors, they use at most 4 colors, so I can give the 5th color to the vertex V. Are there any questions or concerns regarding this? Is everybody convinced about this argument? Okay. So, so now we need to consider the case where they don't belong to different components. V1 and V3 belong to the same component of the graph G13, the red-blue graph. Now suppose that V1 and V3 belong to the same component of G13. Okay? Well, if they belong to the same component in the red-blue graph, that means that there is a path joining them, which is a red-blue path, right? This implies that there exists a path, a V1, V3 path, call it P13, in the red-blue graph. Okay, so let's make another drawing. So we have got V, V1, V2, V3, V4.
Path of odd length, in fact, right?
Right, right. The path will have to be of a prescribed parity because it is red blue colored. Okay, so this is the color 1 and this is the color 3. And now there is a path joining them. And this entire path is a red-blue path, which means all the vertices are colored blue or red. Well, but that means that they have to alternate. If the first vertex is red, the second vertex has to be blue. Then you have to have a red vertex. Then you have to have a blue vertex, and so on. Okay, so this is our path P13, and it is a subgraph of G13. Okay. Any questions or concerns? So now I want you to complete this proof using the Jordan curve theorem.
So we can look at the partition which contains the vertex V2
Hmm.
and maybe change the colors of that
Right.
component.
So
Yes.
we could do the same we did for V1 and V3 with V2 and V4. And
Right.
in this
Right.
case, we'll get that the component V2 and component of V4 are not connected. So
Exactly.
they both belong to the different components.
Right. We are going to play the same game with V2 and V4. Now you see what we have here is a closed curve. We have this path and we have the edges VV1 and VV3. So we get a cycle. So consider the cycle C formed by go from V to V1, then take the path P13, you will end at V3 and then go back to V. Okay? Consider this cycle. So what is the cycle we are looking at? We are looking at this cycle. Now this cycle is a closed curve, right, in the plane. V2 is in the interior and V4 is in the exterior. You might say, why did I not draw it like this? Well, if I draw it like this, then V4 will be in the interior, V2 will be in the exterior. Okay, so it's symmetric. The point
Sir, but the
is,
cycle can be one V1, V5, V4, V3 itself, right?
sorry, what the cycle can be?
Why can't the cycle be V1 to V5 to V4 till V3?
Um, but the path P13 does not contain V5 because all the 5 are colored differently.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if they were not, I mean, if there were only 4 colors being used, then we would be done anyway. So we can assume there are 5 different colors. Good. So the main point here is that this is a closed curve. V2, one of V2 and V4 is in the interior and the other one is in the exterior. Um, this is a simple closed curve of the plane graph with exactly one of V2 and V4 in the interior of this curve. Okay, and the other one in the exterior. This implies that this kind of path cannot exist between V2 and V4. So by the way, this kind of a path is what is called as a Kempe chain in coloring theory. Okay, so let's just call it a Kempe chain without writing down the formal definition. Okay, so the reason I'm saying this is just to give you some historical context because Heawood got this proof while studying and finding the flaw in Alfred Kempe's proof. Right, so he called these things Kempe chains.
Sir,
Yeah, good.
can you scroll up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what the two cases are like. Like the
Okay.
first one.
Further up or here?
Yeah, further up a bit.
Further up.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So, this kind of a path, red-blue path, as I've drawn, is called a Kempe chain. So this is a Kempe chain between V1 and V3. Now, because we have found a simple closed curve, V2 is inside and V4 is outside, you cannot have a similar Kempe chain between V2 and V4. This implies, by the Jordan curve theorem, there does not exist a V2 V4 Kempe chain. Okay, so a path P24 with these properties that you can see. What does that mean? This means that if you look at the graph G24, the graph induced by colors 2 and 4, the vertices V2 and V4 belong to distinct components. So we could not play the game with V1 and V3, but now we can play the game with V2 and V4. So there is a component of G24 that contains V2 and another component of G24 that contains V4. So I will swap the colors on one of these components like we did before and we are done. So we pick one of these components and swap colors 2 and 4 on that component, in that component. Okay, to obtain a new coloring, a new proper 5 vertex coloring, C prime, and in this C prime, the color of V2 is equal to the color of V4. Right? And now we are done because two of them are using the same color, and therefore we can give vertex V the fifth color.
Sir,
Yeah.
it will be C prime of V2 will be equal to C prime of V4.
Sorry, C prime. Yeah, thank you. C prime of V2 is equal to C prime of V4. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, so the proof is basically telling you that if you can't play this game of swapping colors on the vertices V1 and V3, then you can use Jordan curve theorem and then you can play the same game on V2 and V4. Okay, so you're done. Are there any questions or concerns regarding how this works?
I don't completely get it. Like,
Yeah.
where did we use V5?
Where did we use which one?
Like the existence of V5 doesn't seem to depend uh, on this, right? So, like,
Yeah.
what is wrong if I repeat the same argument, assuming that V has degree like at most 4?
No, there is no problem. You can repeat the same argument with four vertices. It's just that when you have a vertex of degree 4, there is a much simpler proof. So we can assume that.
No, but why doesn't that like? Oh, okay. So we could have had a vertex of degree 5.
Hmm.
So suppose I assume that every graph is 4 colorable by induction,
Hmm.
and now I take this graph G with degree 5, and I know that G minus V is 4 colorable,
Right.
and I repeat the same arguments.
Right.
Like we didn't even use V5, right? So what is wrong?
Right. So you're basically okay. So good point. I actually would prefer not to answer the question right now. So it's a very good question. What he's basically saying is, why can't we use this trick to prove the four color theorem? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Why can we not use this exact same trick to prove the four color theorem? So I want you to think about it and tell me where exactly it goes wrong.
If in a graph there exists a vertex of degree 4, then 4 color theorem can be proved in similar way. Right.
Degree 4.
Yes. Then we
Okay.
can just do some Campechian things on vertices that are diametrically opposite.
Right. I think
But
so.
what happens if the graph do not have a vertex of degree 4?
Exactly. That's the difficult case of.
Yeah. That's the difficult case. Otherwise, it will be easy. Means we can do it.
Anyways, try going through for each of you. It's a good exercise. Try taking the whole argument for four color theorem and see what exactly goes wrong. Right? So try it out and find for yourself where exactly you get stuck, because it shouldn't work for the four color theorem. Okay?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
How did they come up with this idea of Campechian?
I don't know. I assume it was Alfred Kempe who probably had this idea in his paper in 1879. And that is what he was able to salvage. Although he found a flaw in Kempe's proof, he would said that, okay, you can't do the four color theorem, but you can at least prove the five color theorem using this. So, but yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it seems like a good idea, right?
So how will we try to prove four color theorem using this? How was that person suggesting?
So you have 5 colors. Okay, so suppose by induction you want to prove that there is only 4 colors are sufficient. So V1, V2, V3, V4, V5 can be colored using 4 colors. Now at most two of them can have the same color because you have four colors. Now just assume that the, let's say for example, v1 and v3 had the same color. You just ignore v3 and then you repeat the same argument on the remaining four colors. I don't see why that is wrong.
So you're saying that you have found a coloring where two of them have the same color because we just did that, right?
Okay,
And
so
now, yeah.
so let's say v1, v2, v3, v4, v5 have four colors, four
Okay.
distinct colors.
Hmm.
If they have less than four colors, then we can just use the same.
Right.
We can color v.
Right.
So we have five vertices and four distinct colors. So at most two of them can have the same color.
Okay.
Right? Because if three of them have the same color, then maximum number of colors you could have is three.
So let's say this is color 1, this is color 2, this is again color 1, this is color 4, and this is color 5.
Okay, so now you just ignore v3 and you apply the same argument on v1, v4, and v2, v5.
No, but how can you ignore v3?
So like v5 you're not using, right? So okay, so you do the same thing, right? They must suppose v1 and v4 belong to different. Consider the graph induced by v1, v4. If they belong to different components, then swap their colors. Suppose they belong to the same component, then you consider a template saying v1, v4. Now v2 and v5 belong to different components of the same template. I mean, like the same argument. Because like earlier you didn't even use v3, right? So if you just go up, v5 was irrelevant in the group. I mean I didn't get what involved v5 was.
So I think there would be a contradiction if V2 was color 1 and V3 was color 2. Something like that.
Sorry, V2 is colored.
1 and V3 was color 2. Then if the path from V1 to V4 contains the vertex V3, then
This is what you're saying. Now what do you do?
in this case, okay, 1 second.
Is the lecture officially over?
No, it's, I mean, we are just discussing. But yeah, I don't think we'll be able to cover much today now. So, I mean, the main point was to prove the five color theorem. So,
Okay, so if the path from V1 to V4 contains the vertex V2, then V5 and V3 both will be inside the whole circle formed, the cycle formed.
No, you just delete v2, right? So why do you even care what v2 is? You are not even using it.
V2 is colored one, so it is possible that the path
Yeah.
from V1 to V4 contains
I don't
V2.
even care like where v2 is, right? So you didn't even use like v2 in the earlier. Like even if v2 lies on the path from v1 to v4, like why do you even care?
Then the Jordan curve we get that will have V3 and V5.
Okay, so still the cycle v1 to v4 joining v, that is one phase. Now you just by Jordan curve theorem, v3 and v5 must belong to different components.
Okay.
Okay, so you can do something like this. Like there is a Campe chain from V1 to V4. So it implies that there is no Campe chain from V5 to V1, right?
right.
Yeah, but then what you will do is you can color. We have to color V5 by 1. But if V1 and V5 are adjacent, then you won't be able to color. V1 can be colored. V2 can be colored by 5. You mean?
I think the arguments are not so easy means to put forward in
Well,
it.
think about it takes time. So think about it. So Shrikant, why don't you write down everything and see if you are able to make each
Yeah,
case
yeah.
work.
I think this is where it fails, right?
Hmm.
There is a campaign from V1 to V4, so there
Okay.
is no campaign from V5 to V2.
Okay.
So that means you have to color V5 and V2 by same, and say you color V5 by 1,
Mhm.
but then there
No, no,
can
no,
be
no.
input from
I'm
V1 to
ignoring.
V5.
No, no. I'm looking
No,
at
no, but
V5
how
and
can we
V3.
color V5 and V1 by same? That is my point.
No, I know. I am looking at V5 and V3, not V. So So what I want to do is repeat the same argument. There. So in the previous
From
proof,
V5
you
to
didn't use
V3,
V5,
right?
right? So you just ignore V5 and like repeat the same argument on V3 and V5. So V3 and V5 belong to different components, right? Or the graph induced by their colors must belong to different components because V1 to V4 Kempe chain is there. So I think maybe you can't swap V4 and V1. Maybe uh, like the Kempe chain argument still works, I think. But if if suppose V1 and V4 belong to different components, maybe uh,
Ah,
you may
I
not
think
be able
the
to swap.
campaign argument will fail here.
Okay, so what will happen is there can
No, okay, I think I
No,
got
no,
it. So
no. If we try to prove this using only campaign, I think we will be stuck at some point of time. Means we cannot proceed further.
no, the Kempe chain argument I think is correct. What I think is wrong is suppose V1 and V4 belong to the same component, and sorry, suppose V1 and V4 belong to different components, and you try to swap the colors of V1 and I mean you try to make V1 and V4 the same color. Now what can happen is V2 may end up with a different color, right? So you may end up coloring V2 with color 4, uh, and uh, okay, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Anyways, think about it. There is a lot of confusion. Who's coloring what? Which vertex is what color? Okay, so think about it. Where this proof goes wrong, it definitely will get stuck in some places. Otherwise, we would have had a good proof of the four color theorem for, since long time. But it's definitely worth finding out exactly where the bottleneck is. Okay. The good news is, while I don't know the proof of the four color theorem myself, it does use ideas like these. Ideas of Kempe chain are also used in the final proof of the four color theorem that is out there, right? Of course, the actual proof of the four color theorem is way more complex to say that it depends on any one idea. It depends on lots of different ideas and techniques, right? And one of them is Kempe chains. Okay. So that's all for today's lecture. We have proved the five color theorem. And the next thing I want to tell you is about the other historical proof, incorrect proof, which was due to Tate. So what Tate did, he found an interesting connection with edge colorings, and that is what I want to discuss in the next one or two lectures. Okay, so we'll discuss that tomorrow. Okay, so thanks. Also, October 15 to 20th is a holiday at IIT Madras. And the three lectures we missed, I am considering holding extra Tuesday lectures to find a time that works for everybody after 20th October.
So what is the holiday duration?
15 to 20th October.
Okay, so there will be no class.
No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So all the extra classes will be covered after 20th October, right?
That is the plan, yes.
Means
That
not
is,
before
when will be
15th.
the last lecture?
no. Sorry?
When will be the last lecture?
I don't remember. It will be in your calendar because I only sent out invitations for the number of lectures that will be conducted.
Sir, I think the last lecture will be just before assignment 5, right?
Just before assignment 5. Could be. Could be.
because there are only 5 assignments. That's why. I mean, I just
Yeah.
guessed.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So I think it's sometime in November, but I don't remember when exactly the last lecture is. Okay. So I'll stop recording now.
Okay, sir. Will the extra classes be before 15th October?